In previous parts of abusing Windows internals video, we have seen the methods like shellcode injection, process hollowing, thread hijacking, and DLL injection. And apart from these four typical process injection methods, there are few other methods that are being used by sophisticated threads. And we are going to see some of those methods here. And let's begin that. And the topic is memory execution alternatives. So we are going to witness the alternative and some sophisticated methods here. So depending on the environment you are already placed in, you may need to alter the way that you execute your shell code. This could occur when there are hooks on any API calls and you cannot evade or unhook them. An EDR is monitoring threads, etc. So if you have doubt about the term hook, let's see and learn what is hooking in malware. And here's the definition. First, malware uses hooking technique to steal sensitive information like passwords or banking credentials. This is done by inserting hooks that monitor user inputs from the keyboard and critical times, or with hooks that intercept sensitive information before it can be transmitted to access across networks. So this is the definition about the hooking. So hooking is all about a technique that is being used to steal some information from the victim's network or victim system. So let's see the next point. Up to this point, we have primarily looked at the methods allocating writing data from the same we have already witnessed in previous parts of abusing Windows internals. And the execution is also a vital step in any injection technique, although not as important when attempting to minimize the memory artifacts and IOCs. Okay, unlike allocating and writing data, execution has many options to choose from. So throughout this room, we have observed the create thread and create remote thread. So these two Windows system functions to execute the specific code or DLL. We either use to create thread or create remote thread. But in this task, we are going to cover some alternative methods. And the first method is invoking function pointers. This method is very new to me. So I'm a beginner to this concept. So I am just going to explain at higher level what they gave here. And the void function pointer is an oddly novel method of memory block execution that relies solely on typecasting. So let's see the term typecasting. What is typecasting? In cybersecurity, maybe. And here they gave some relevant definition. Typecast is a way of changing an object from one data type to another data type. So let's see whether it is relatable. The void function pointer is an oddly novel method of memory block execution that relies solely on typecasting. Okay, this technique can only be executed with locally allocated memory but does not rely on API calls or other system functionality. So what they are trying to say, they are saying that here we won't be witnessing any system calls like we have witnessed before, like the create thread, create remote thread, open process, create process, like that. So there is no system calls here, and the one liner below is the most common form of void function pointer, but we can break it down into further. And they explain this specific line of code, and they are breaking this line of code below. And this one liner they are explaining here, create a function pointer. So this is called, seemingly this is called void function pointer. This is outlined in red. And cast the allocated memory pointer or shellcode array into function pointer. Cast means in this place they are representing the incorporation, and that they outlined in yellow. All right. And the next one is invoke the function pointer to execute the shellcode. So the specific bracket denotes the function pointer invoking. And this technique has a very special use case but can be very evasive and helpful when needed. So they are mentioning this specific technique as more evasive technique compared to others. And moving to the next concept, asynchronous procedure calls. Shortly, they call it as APC. And from the Microsoft documentation, they gave the link here, but the explanation given in this specific room is more than enough. As a beginner, this is more than enough. And the definition, as per the Microsoft documentation for APC, an asynchronous procedure call is a function that executes asynchronously in the context of particular thread. Okay, actually, it is seemingly it is doing some execution asynchronously in the context of a thread. All right, an APC function is queued to a thread through queue user APC. So here is the system call queue user APC, and the APC function is getting queued into the thread by using this system call. And once queued, the APC function results in a software interrupt and executes the function next time the thread is scheduled. All right. Moving to the next line. In order for a user land or user mode application to queue an APC function, the thread must be in an alertable state. So here they're defining the thread state as well. They are saying that the thread must be in the alertable state in order to queue the APC function in user mode. An alertable state requires the thread to be waiting for a callback, such as wait for single object or sleep. So there are a couple more system calls. And now that we understand what APC functions are, let's look at how they can be used maliciously. So they are using the same system called virtual alloc ex to allocate the memory space, and they are using the write memory process in order to write something into that allocated memory. And here is the definition, the code block. Queue user APC. So they are queuing the APC function within a thread. They are defining the thread here. And also the next one, resume thread. Once they queue this APC, once they queue this user APC, they are resuming the thread and wait for single object. Alertable state requires the thread to be waiting for a callback such as wait for single object. So the thread is in alertable state now and it is waiting for callback. That is why they gave the wait for single object. They are using wait for single object system call here. And this technique is a great alternative to the thread execution. The thread hijacking. We have witnessed the thread hijacking method, right? So they gave the specific APC method as an alternative for the thread hijacking. But it has recently gained traction in detection engineering. So they are also saying that the specific method is, getting to know by many defenders, so that the specific traps are being set in order to catch this kind of exploitation, the APC abuse. And this can still be the great option of depending on detection measures if you are facing. Yeah, though it is gaining the traction, it is gaining the attention of the defenders, it is still worth of enabling this detection measure. And moving to the next one, the third method, section manipulation. So let's see what it is. A commonly seen technique in malware research is PE. So this is the portable executable format, the format of Windows executable or Windows files, the files used in the Windows operating system. And the portable executable it is all about the structure, the file structure. And they are mentioning the technique section manipulation here. So what they are trying to say, if you see the portable executable file, there will be a lot of sections. Sections like DOS header, PE header, optional header, section header, like that there will be a lot of sections in any PE file. And the section manipulation is all about manipulating the sections present in the PE file. I think that is what they are trying to denote here. So as a refresher, the PE format defines the structure and formatting of an executable file in Windows. For execution purposes, we are mainly focused on the sections, especially specifically dot data and dot text. So in the earlier Windows internals room, we have witnessed the two popular sections, dot data and dot text. So that is what they gave here. And what they're trying to say, they're mainly focusing on sections, specifically these two sections. Tables and pointers to sections are commonly used to execute data. All right. So they are not, I mean, they also admitted that they are not going in depth into this specific section manipulation concept. However, you are welcome to learn this concept. You can Google it and you can try to learn more concepts, more things about this specific concept. And to begin with any section manipulation technique, we need to obtain the PE dump. To obtain the PE dump is commonly accomplished with DLL or other malicious file fed into XXD. All right. So what they are saying, they are recommending the program called XXD. XXD is a program you can witness in the Linux distribution. It will give the hexadecimal and the ASCII view of any binary file. And at the core of each method, it is using math to move through the physical hex data, which is translated to PE data. Some of the more commonly known techniques include RVA, entry point parsing, section mapping, relocation table processing. So these are the other techniques that is being used to inject some code or process into, I mean, some code or malicious stuff into the process. So these are the other techniques in injection. And with all injection techniques, the ability to mix and match commonly researched methods is endless. So this provides you as an attacker with plethora of options to manipulate your malicious data and execute it. So now we have witnessed around 5 or 6 methods in injection. So it will be very helpful whenever you are either as a cyber defender, whenever you are analyzing a malware or performing any red team operations, it will be very helpful to you. And let's try to answer these questions. What protocol is used to execute asynchronously in the context of thread? And I think it is nothing but the asynchronous procedure call. Yeah, that's the answer. What is the Windows API call used to queue an API function? Queue APC, I guess. Queue user APC. Yeah, that is the system call. And the next one, can void function pointer can be used as remote process? I think it is no, because we have already seen the reason here. Yeah, here it is. This technique can only be executed with locally allocated memory but does not rely on any API calls or other system functionality. So it can be executed only, I mean, with the locally allocated memory only. So that is why the answer here is no. N. Yeah, that's the right answer. Let's move to the next one, the case study in browser injection and browser hooking. So here they gave a real-time scenario. I mean, they gave a real-time incident, a real-time sample that leveraged all the techniques that we have discussed above. So that is what they gave here. And also they referred one blog here, the blog by Sentinel Labs. So it speaks about the techniques employed by Trickbot malware, how Trickbot malware hooking engine targets Windows 10 browsers. So that is what they are trying to explain here. So before we are beginning that specific exercise, let's read through this room. Let's read through this blog. So what is Trickbot malware? So they gave some background about this Trickbot malware. So it's a banking malware and more interesting, continually developing malware on the financial crimeware landscape. It employs multiple means and methods to exploit compromised machines of interest. The focus of this post is to cover in depth some of these Windows 10, Microsoft Edge, and other browser hooking engine functionality. All right. So here you can see the the chain DLL entry point, DLL main, CRT startup, DLL main, Trickbot create hook. It is creating, looks like it is creating hook here and create hook API. Yeah, and moving down further, and let me zoom in a little bit. And here I can see in this disassembled code, the processor, I mean, the process name is defined. Looks like these process names are belongs to each browser types. So Trickbot malware banking I mean Trickbot banking malware injection browser target. So it's target these kind of browsers here, browser process. And in order to hook browser functions, Trickbot malware injects the payload into browser choice via so-called reflective loader methodology. The reflective loader is one of the techniques that we are going to witness in the exercise here in this case study. But let's try to understand, let's try to aware of this term reflective loader. And the Trickbot process injection function targets 4 browsers from Microsoft Edge to Google Chrome. And moving down, it can also display the list of processes where the Trickbot injects the malware. Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Microsoft Edge, and there is another weird process runtime broker. The malware also relaxes the browser security and changes files locally before injection occurs. All right, and here you can see the further disassembled view of the code. DLL and target process must be same architecture. I think so. That is the name. That is the letter they are trying to mention here. And the Trickbot banking malware injection browser target. And write shellcode. Here you can see the term write shellcode. They are pushing. I think the push in the. I mean, push is the instruction in the assembly language. So it will push the specific value into the stack. So they are pushing the shellcode into the stack. That is what I think I'm understanding from this specific instruction. And here is the very important thing, the brief steps they gave. Open the target process, allocate memory address in remote via virtual alloc ES. The same stuff here. And copy function, write process memory, the same thing they are doing. They are writing something into that allocated memory. And once again, the same. And the next one is interesting one, the different one. Flush instruction cache API to make sure our changes are written right away. And the next one is call inject remote thread. So they are calling that remote thread function and also resuming the thread once they call that remote thread. And the last one, call undocumented API function, RTL create user thread to start execution in the remote process using offset address of the reflective loader function as the entry point. Okay, it is a bit confusing, but however, you will be getting a high level idea about this. And Trickbot malware hooking engine. When Trickbot banker hooks the API function, it enters the new hooked one and checks to make sure the process is Microsoft Edge cp.exe while passing control to the original one when the hooked function concludes. Trickbot banking malware create hook main example function prototype. So here they gave hook creation, I guess. Create process as user, create process W, create process A. Yeah, I think they gave the hook creation here. And the basic Trickbot banking API hooking template as follows. So here they gave the basic hook creation template. Hook creation template. Create hook API. So here is the function. So the create hook API, it's a function, and they are passing the arguments here. And when I scroll down, I can see the Trickbot hook pseudocode. You can see the pseudocode here. Actually, it looks daunting, but you need not to read through each and every line and understand each and every line of this code. However, it will give you a high level idea about the hooking. So you can take some time and you can read through this. But now we are just moving. For instance, Trickbot malware sets up its own my create process a function prototype after the hook on create process a. So they gave the same stuff here. The thing they explained above here. And moving down, I can see Trickbot banking malware, my create process a hook function. All right. So if I see down, I can see the list of processes, the process, I mean the system calls. The following four API calls being hooked or in the child Microsoft Edge via rogue RTL broker.dll, allowing Trickbot operators to intercept and manipulate the Microsoft Edge calls. So here they are explaining about this specific API calls. And the Trickbot hook Internet Explorer and Microsoft Edge in WinINet DLL library API calls. So here they are using these system calls to hook the Internet Explorer and Microsoft Edge. I mean, the Trickbot hooks it by using these API calls. HTTP send request looks like it is some web request, some internet connectivity related API calls. So the malware hooks Mozilla Firefox browser in nspr4.dll library API calls. So here they gave few other API calls here. I mean, few other API calls. It hooks some. I mean, in Chrome they can see the API calls here. SSL underscore read, SSL underscore write. So SSL underscore read. Actually, obviously SSL is a secured one, right? So they are using the specific library calls. And yeah, with this we slightly read through this blog. We haven't read through this in depth, but however, we will get some a basic idea about this. Now let's try to read through the exercise. Trickbot is a well-known banking malware that has recently regained its popularity in a financial crimeware. The main function of the malware we will be observing is browser hooking. So this is the concept we are studying now. And browser hooking allows the malware to hook interesting API calls that can be used to intercept, steal credentials. So what they are doing, browser hooking, they are explaining the browser hooking clearly in this line. Browser hooking allows the malware to hook interesting API calls. So what the malware is doing, malware is using the interesting API calls and it is hooking the interesting API calls in order to intercept and steal the crucial, confidential information like credentials. To begin our analysis, let's look at how they are targeting the browsers. So from Sentinel Labs reverse engineering blog that we have witnessed just now, it is clear that open process is being used to obtain handles from common browser paths. So here you can see in the specific disassembled code, instruction is call. It is calling the open process. It's a system call. And that is what is being used. And if I scroll down further, it is defining the list of browsers. And the current source code for the reflective injection is unclear. So here you can see the term reflective injection. We have witnessed the same term in this specific Sentinel Labs blog as well. And the Sentinel Labs has outlined the basic program flow of the injection below. So here they give the same flow that we have witnessed in this blog. I think, yeah, here it is. The same process they gave here. They just copied and pasted. And once they injected, the Trickbot will call its hook installer function copied into memory at step 3. The pseudocode for this installer function has been provided in the Sentinel Labs below. So we have seen that pseudocode, right? The daunting, intimidating code block. And the same code block, this one. And the same code block is given here, not fully from the word relative offset. So this part is given here. I was trying to understand this specific code blocks. However, I need more time to understand this. Obviously, if you have any clear explanation for this code block, please put it in the comment section. It will be easy for me to understand it better. And let's break this code down. They are also trying to break this code down and they try to explain this. So the first section of interesting code we see can be identified as function pointers. You may recall this from the previous task of invoking function pointers. So here you can see this specific code block. They are invoking a function pointer. So let's go through that specific the line in the previous exercise. Function pointer. Actually, they are referring the specific method here. This specific line of code is resembles that method, the void function pointer. So that is what they are trying to explain. And once the function pointers are defined, the malware will use them to modify memory protections of the function using virtual protect ex. And here the function call is virtual protect ex, and it is used for memory protection. So that is what they gave here briefly. And and the next one, the code turns into malware funny business with function pointer hooking. It is not essential to understand the technical requirement of this code of this row. So they are also mentioning that it need not, you need not to understand the whole code. However, you can get an idea from this. Once hooked, it will return the function to its original memory protections. All right. So we need some more time to understand this code block. Moving down further, this may seem like, yeah, that's what they are saying. The code block is intimidating. However, we had a good learning session. The main takeaway of the hooking function for Trickbot is that it will inject itself into browser process using reflective injection. So here they are defining the method reflective injection, and hook API calls from injected function. All right. Let's try to answer this. What alternative Windows API call was used by Trickbot to create new user thread? And if I scroll above, I can see this, the resume thread or fallback to create new user thread. So they are using the system call RTL create user thread. And that must be the answer. And the next one was the injection techniques employed by Trickbot reflective. Yeah, it was reflective injection. We have just witnessed that model, I mean that the method type, and I think it is given somewhere here. All right, moving down further. Yeah, this is true actually. And what function name was used to manually write hooks? Let's move up, and here you can see the definition, manually write the hook. So here they are using the function called write underscore hook underscore iter. That's the function to manually write the hook. So I think that must be the answer. Yeah, with this we are accomplishing this reflective injection method as well. And moving down to the conclusion part, the process injection is an overarching technique, I mean the high level technique that can be used in many varieties and one of the most common cases of abusing Windows internals. All right. It is important to note that detection engineering and monitoring evolves. Injection techniques will need to evolve as well. Most of the techniques shown in this room will be detected by popular commercial EDRs, but you can still easily modify your injectors to meet the cat and mouse game between red and blue team. So, though these methods being detected by the EDR tools that we have nowadays, they are saying that we can still modify these small things, and we can make the things complicate for the blue teamers as a red teamer. Okay. And when preparing to incorporate the injection technique into your own work or tools, we advise you to use it only in a small section of the larger tool. Mixing and matching components of the injection can also be very fruitful to attempt to make your tooling as close to a legitimate application as possible. And these techniques to your evasion toolbox and continue experimenting to identify what works best for you for the environment you are in. All right. So with this, we are accomplishing this specific room. Literally, we have learned so many interesting stuffs from this room, and this is just a high-level explanation. We have learned multiple things, but at higher level. But what we can do, maybe in future video, I will try to understand each and every concept in a better way, and I will try to make a practical exploitation, practical process injection. We can create the executable file with some process injection code, and we will try to exploit some other legitimate process. Okay, yeah, with this we are accomplishing the room abusing Windows internals. And yeah, this is what I exactly wanted to explain. I really learned some new concepts through this video. Hope you too. And if you really enjoyed it, hit the like button, consider subscribing my channel. If you have any other opinion, put it in the comment section. I'll read through those comments and get back to you. You can also share this video among your friends. I'll catch you next time with another exciting video. Until then, I'm signing off. Cheers, and I love you guys.